Hello everybody, this is Nerdy Geeky, and today I'm just going to be doing something different by doing like a picture video. I know a lot of people do this on YouTube already, so I was not going to make it a regular thing, but I thought because I'm talking about several characters, I'd be more interested to see them than looking at my face the whole time. So let's get started then, shall we? Character progressions within Star Wars, to me, are few and far between, and although it seems like within 6 episodes you would get a lot about character progression, you really don't, and this is what I really want to bring to light. And then at the end I'll tell you who I think has the most character progression throughout all of the series and the films. I'm not going into comics or expanded universe here, although maybe I will mention them a little bit. So let's start off. Most people will probably think that Anakin Skywalker has the most character progression, since you see him start as a child and move on to being Darth Vader eventually. But because we see him as Darth Vader at first, we know where he's going to end up, and therefore I don't believe that he has character progression. He only just becomes what he eventually was always going to become. Anakin Skywalker as a child is an annoying brat, to be honest with you. He moves into being a whiny sort of young adult, only to be made into the villain in episode 3, and we all knew he was going to become the villain and become Darth Vader anyway, and then we all knew that he was going to die in episode 6. I don't believe that's progression. I believe that is just someone ending up where we knew they were going to get to anyway. Obi-Wan Kenobi is the same thing here, although he does have some character progression in the Clone Wars series. He starts out in the original trilogy as old and dies in the first episode before you've even got enough time to really care about him. In the first 3, as I say, the first 3 episodes, 1 to 3, he really does not progress that much. You see him have a few outbursts of anger, and you see him go from a Padawan to a Jedi Master. That sounds like progression, but you don't really see it. The time jumps just explain that within those time jumps he has moved up the ranks within the Jedi. Yoda, again, we all know that eventually he goes to Dagobah and goes a little bit mental, so I don't really see any progression there. I mean, we start out the series and he's about 870 years old when we start episode 1, so there's not really much progression going to be going on in the next 30 years of his 900-year-old life. Palpatine's an interesting one. There's kind of a little progression there, but a lot of that's off screen, a lot of that's in the books, like with Darth Plagueis the Wise. I said I was going to mention the books, but mostly he just moves up the ranks within the Senate until he becomes Supreme Chancellor, and then eventually declares himself Emperor. And that's not really progression, because you knew that's where he was going to end up. Padme has a little bit from the start, but mostly she's a queen and then she's a senator, and they're both pretty much the same character. She dies at completely the wrong time, screwing up the continuity, considering Leia did say that she knew her mother briefly when she was young, and how she did her hair and makeup, which would have been very noticeable from Naboo, but unfortunately she died in childbirth, which made that completely wrong continuity. The Jedi Council as themselves, Yoda kind of mentions that he's part of the Jedi Council, or had a Jedi Council, in Star Wars Episode 5. Although you see some of these members in the Clone Wars, you don't really get much progression. You just see them out and about, so that's not really progression, more face time. Dooku, yep, he dies pretty quickly. Even in the Clone Wars series, he has no character progression. He's just the bad guy, and that's it. Han Solo, although Han Solo does have some character progression, going from a general smuggler to someone who actually gives a crap. He becomes a general in the rebellion, and helps out quite a lot, and of course falling in love softens him a little bit. So yes, you do get some character progression there, but I don't believe it's the most out of all the films or series. Leia, a very underdeveloped character. Mostly she's just there to be the love interest and the secret sister. Whether that was intentional from the beginning or not is another thing I absolutely do not know, although I think George Lucas did have that in mind. Leia herself, like I said, is a very underdeveloped character. You don't really get to see much of her. If you read around in the expanded universe, that she was a part of the rebellion before even episode 4, and I wouldn't be surprised if he comes into Star Wars Rebels at some point. She was in the Force Unleashed games as well. So yeah, more character progression outside the films and series, so I'm not going to count her as having any character progression other than falling in love with Han Solo and maybe becoming humbled a little bit, but I guess that's what happens when your planet gets blown up. Luke Skywalker, some people would argue, has the most character progression, going from just a farm boy to being a Jedi, well, eventually a Jedi Master, but in the series, a Jedi Knight at least. But at the same time, a lot of it's off-screen. screen, and it's just those time jump between films explains that he got to that point between films, very similar to Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I don't believe that's character progression, although it is a little bit. He still seems to jump into situations without really thinking about them, and he still really lacks a lot of emotion within the films other than getting really angry in the episode 6. That's a lot of the ones that I really wanted to talk about. The person I think has the most character progression, and I'm probably going to get killed for this, or at least get a lot of hate mail, I think is actually Ahsoka Tano from the Clone Wars series. She starts off with this bratty little kid, and she really annoyed me in the Clone Wars film, and I really didn't like her, but the more the series goes on, the more endearing she becomes, and you see this character progression, and you see her start becoming more knowledgeable and more wise, and she starts listening to her elders more often, and stops this sort of arrogant tirade she goes on sometimes. And not only that, you actually see her physically age, which is very not really seen in Star Wars that much. I mean, you see Ben Kenobi go from, you know, young to old, but that's a massive jump. You don't really see Anakin age because he turns into Darth Vader, and then Darth Vader just looks the same anyway. You don't really see Luke age, you don't see Han age until obviously episode 7 because of the big time jump. You don't really see anybody age within a film or within a series other than Ahsoka Tano. She physically grows up, and she grows up mentally, becoming very wise at the end of series 5, the last time you see her in Star Wars The Clone Wars. And of course, spoiler alert here, but obviously she pops up in Star Wars Rebels as well, as much older, and she seems a little wiser, a little bit more switched on. But yeah, by the end of the Clone Wars, she was teaching Anakin a couple of things here and there. So I believe that she has the most character progression throughout that series, and probably due to the fact that that series was 5 series long with her in it, and they did have enough time to sort of flesh out her character a little bit more than the films would give her. So I do understand that saying a TV series character has more character progression than the films is a little bit of a cheat, but I do believe that overall her character changes the most throughout all of the series, very notably. I mean, if you've got a different opinion, feel free to put it in the comment section below. I would love to hear. If I've missed out anybody you think has important character progression, then please put it in the comment section below. I'd love to discuss this. I'd love to find out why, and if there's some good points, I might even make another video on other characters who have a similar amount of character progression. And thank you very much for listening today. I don't know if you can class this as watching, and I hope you enjoyed the different kind of video that I've done today. Like I said, I won't do it very often, but maybe if I do other things like this, I may do a more picture-based video. I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you for watching. And if you'd like to see more, please subscribe. Thank you.